What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Jav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review. Happy Labor Day, my peoples from the U.S. And I don't think we celebrate that anywhere else. So, well, today, man, we got my brother B.
What's going on, everybody?
Yes, and we have no Sanj, no Al today. Maybe Sanj might jump on, not too sure, but definitely no Al tonight. But he'll be back with us next week. Shang-Chi review. Non-spoiler first and spoiler review. If we have time, we'll talk about What If episode 3 and 4, which were pretty amazing episodes if you didn't get a chance to see them on Disney Plus. And first and foremost, we're going to talk about, unfortunately, some news that we got this afternoon, which was the passing of Michael K. Williams. He's a well-known actor. If you have ever seen The Wire, he played Omar. If you watch Lovecraft Country, this is where I kind of like saw his acting chops because I'd never seen The Wire. Was in Lovecraft Country as the father of I forgot the main character's name just now, but yeah, he was on there, and then as well as a couple other shows like Boardwalk Empire, and I'm sure he's been in other movies. 'Cause I've definitely seen his face before in other things. So, Brandon, really quick, man, any thoughts on Michael K. Williams there?
I mean, from I know him mostly from Lovecraft Country. I
Right.
think he did an incredible job on the show. His role was awesome as an openly gay character. Well, no, sorry, closeted gay character.
Yeah.
And we had to learn a lot about his kind of past. Was a big part of the show, and
Absolutely.
having exploring that, along with other things on the show was a really good, kind of traversal road there, and it was really cool for him and his character. I heard about his role in on The Wire,
Yeah.
which by just knowing The Wire was an incredible show. So I'm sure that he was incredible at that too, and it's incredibly sad to have lost another actor.
Absolutely, man. And they're saying that he was, found unresponsive, and there's a history of abuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol there. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, but either way, man, we wish his family, his friends, people who've worked with him, and people who loved his work in the industry, as far as an actor and anything else that he's done, man. We wish you guys, we send our condolences to you guys first and foremost, and just hope that we could all get through these things. And just know, people, if you're going through these types of issues, substance abuse or any kind of abuse or anything in life, there's ways to find help. If even if it's like sending an email to someone and they can help you get the help. There's a lot of things out there, so please, guys, don't give up. Keep trying. It's hard, it's tough, so just make sure you get the help that you need. There's people out there willing to help you. But in regards to Michael K. Williams, man, I mean, listen, I've always heard The Wire was an amazing show, so I'm definitely was looking forward to watching it at some point. This just makes it a more urgent thing for me to watch, to now see his character Omar, the shotgun-toting, drug-dealing killer. Or he was a killer, or he robbed the drug dealers, one or the other, with his shotgun. So I'm curious to see what this show is all about. I heard it was nothing but great stuff about it. So looking forward to it, man. And again, we send our condolences out to the family and friends of Michael K. Williams there. And no easy segue, of course, as always, when you talk about death or something serious. We're just going to go on to what we talk about most here, which is the movies. And one of the movies that we got to see recently was Shang-Chi
Woo, woo.
and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Marvel's MCU next series, or next movie in the line of this series. And wow, man. So let's get talking about it, Brandon, man. Let's go with the non-spoiler review first for the people who didn't get a chance to see it. B, just give me a quick rundown, man. What was your thoughts on this movie, non-spoiler?
I loved it. From start to finish, it had nonstop action. The story really smoothed itself along the way. It was just, it didn't have any spots where I was bored. Like, it just kept everything going, and it did a great job. The cast is incredible. Holy moly, the cast is absolutely incredible. I don't think there was, in my mind, anything bad about this movie. There was some, the villain of the movie, played by Tony Lang. Was that? Am I pronouncing
Tony
that correctly?
Leung,
Leong. Um,
yeah,
he was incredible as the Mandarin.
quote unquote.
So
When
quote
Wu.
unquote. So he was incredible. Simu Liu. Aquafina, I can't believe like how cohesive this movie was. I would say you definitely need to go see it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm gonna go the same route on the non-spoiler here. Just tell you guys that, if you find Aquafina kind of corny and kind of like not too funny, don't worry about this one. She's actually really, really good in this one. Because I too find Aquafina a little corny sometimes. But in this movie, she did her thing. Simu Liu, the star of this movie, Shang-Chi there, he kind of killed it, man. I mean, for someone
He
I've never
did.
really seen
For
act
someone who's this is
before.
like his first movie, like it's like his
Absolutely.
first movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard he has this show that's on TV or on Netflix right now, but I have never seen it. So I've never seen Simu Liu besides a couple of things here and there with the internet and him asking to be in Marvel and all those things like that. But I got to tell you, man, he sold the movie for me, man. I mean, we're riding with this guy the entire time, and we're like, that's Shang-Chi. As simple as that,
That's it.
Hey, Brandon nailed it on the head there with the, Tony Leung playing the quote unquote Mandarin, or Wen Wu is his name in the movie. Incredible. Just incredible. He killed it, man. I mean, you felt for him. You felt for why he was doing what he was doing in the movie. And I got to say the entire cast, man, they did their damn thing. I seen a couple of like, I don't want to say haters because we're not like these Marvel fiends either, but so it's like in the middle ground kind of thing. It's not a Black Panther retread with now the Simu
Asian
Liu.
community.
It's not that. So it's its own separate movie. There's a couple things where you're like, okay, that's kind of similar, but not really, man. It's its own different story here. So I really appreciate it. It gets a little fantastical. When we've dealt with the realness and stuff like that, it does get a little fantastical at the point at towards the end of the movie. But overall, I got to tell you guys, I don't know if I want to say needs to see it, but it's definitely up there, and I think you should see it. So I'm not going to say you need to see it, but you should see it. And I think it's a great time, man. We had a good time. I wouldn't say it's great. I think it's good. I think it's up there in the top half of Marvel movies. I don't think it's top 5 for me or top 10, but definitely out of all these movies that we've seen over the last 20 years, it's definitely up there. Listen, it's better than the Black Widow movie we just saw. So, I got to give this one its credit due. There are 2 post-credit scenes in this movie, so make sure if you're not used to Marvel movies, you do sit down and you stay for the 2 post-credit scenes, one in the middle and one towards the end of the actual film after the credits, and some surprise characters in the movie as well. So we'll get into that in the spoiler review. So again, Brandon's saying you must see it, you need to see it. I'm going to tell you, you should see it. It's a good movie. I really think it's great. Yeah, that's not much more we can say more than that because we don't want to tell you any parts of the story or the villains or anything that we saw in there, and we'll leave it at that. What I will tell you, the one thing is, because my expectations was some kind of karate tournament because I was told it was the Return of the Dragon before I saw it. It is not Return of the Dragon. So if you're worried that it's just a karate tournament, there is no karate tournament. Spoiler alert. But that kind of worried me when I was like, oh, it's going to be a karate tournament the whole movie. I was like, I guess we'll go for it. It is not that.
There was no Van Damme. He didn't show up.
No.
It was
All
not
right,
the
man.
Agro Kai.
Definitely not, man. I forgot what the guy. Bloodsport's a classic.
Bloodsport.
Oh, man. So listen, guys. That is much as we can tell you for a Marvel movie, because you guys know, man, if you're listening to us, you already know Marvel movies, everything's a damn spoiler to something. So it's like you can't really talk about anything because we want you to feel as surprised as we were watching it. The one gripe I had, though, I will mention this, but it had nothing to do with the movie itself. Because this is probably going to be the first movie that I see twice in the theaters. I don't think I've seen any movie twice this year. This is probably going to be the movie I see twice in theaters. I don't know about you, B, but I felt like the surround sound or the Dolby Atmos sound wasn't completely up, or the bass wasn't up, because it felt like something was missing in the sound.
Completely agree. It was funny. It was just like right before the movie started, they had just did the Dolby Atmos thing. It was like
Yeah.
boom, boom,
Even
This is
the chairs were shaking.
look, this is Dolby Atmos, and you're like, oh shit, okay, Dolby Atmos. Then it
Yeah.
was like Marvel Studios. And I'm like, where'd the sound go? Where'd the boom go? Like it just got so light, and I was like, oh, okay. So and I heard that I had brought up with a friend of mine who actually went to another AMC theater, and he was watching it in their prime kind of
Right.
Dolby thing, which is not Dolby Atmos but prime, and he said that when the movie started, he goes, it sounded like the sound went down there too. So maybe it's in the production of the movie itself.
Wow. Okay, so maybe that is my one thing with the movie then. Is the sound quality kind of dipped once the movie started, which was crazy because we just saw a Coca-Cola commercial that was insane. So
I don't even know a Coke bottle can explode like that.
yeah, man, that was incredible, man. But listen, that's gonna be our non-spoiler review because again, guys, we apologize, can't really say much on a non-spoiler review. We want to give you guys a chance to watch this movie and experience it the way that we did sitting there for the first time. So let's get right into the spoiler review where we can talk about more stuff in detail, the things we liked, didn't like, the surprises, our thoughts on those opinions and things. So let's get right into the spoiler review now. So Brandon, besides the sound quality, man, how about the action in this movie, man?
That was incredible. From start to finish, the action was straight on point. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there was one bad fight scene, action scene. Like, even, like you said, like at the end of the movie, we get to Ta Lo, which is very, mystical, has all these ancient Chinese beasts from all these Chinese lore. Like
Right.
the certain dragon that has the horse body, but the dragon face. You get all of these different, I think it's called the Kuai Ling or something like that. I don't want to butcher. I'm sorry. But you have all these mystical beasts from Chinese lore, and then you get into a battle which has this giant, CGI monster in it. A couple
That was
different
not
CGI
CGI.
beasts.
That dragon was
That
not
was,
CGI.
it was real, right? So
That was
like,
a real dragon.
we got fantastical, and we had people shooting bows and arrows, and like you'd think at that point, like, oh, it's gonna be kind of lame because it's not like an army thing. They're shooting CGI beasts, but even that scene was great. Like they made it comedic, they made it awesome in terms of action. They just put the whole package in. At no point did any of the action feel terrible or corny.
No, man, and let's talk about like right off the jump, the first action scene after the first, well, besides the first action scene of our introduction to Wenwu, which we'll talk about in a second, but even in the trailers, the bus, there's parts of the bus that we did not see on the trailer that was amazing.
Yeah, that fight scene was great. The whole
Oh,
choreography of the entire thing. I was, oh gosh, I'm losing my light. I'm sorry. The
that's
the
okay.
choreography of like the entire scene was just on point. Like from him fighting three guys and then pushing passengers out of the way to then fighting, I don't know his name, like Razor Hand or something like that.
Razor fist, razor fist.
Razor Fist, right? Like that fight alone, and then him navigating all of it, like that was so smooth. It wasn't corny or choppy. It was
Mm.
just perfectly balanced. Like if you liked episodes 1 through 3 of Iron Fist, this excels those fighting scenes and choreography.
Yeah, man. And again, we had a ton of fighting in this movie. We have the introduction of Wenwu's character, of why the Ten Rings were this big organization and how they became, and it was a great introduction because it kind of went back into the lore of the Ten Rings with, the Iron Man, there in the beginning. And then we even got an explanation down the road of what the Ten Rings were and why they were in Iron Man. It was like this offset, or it seems like this. I don't know if they were trying to state that Killian had taken over the name or faked the name of the Ten Rings and brought them over to United States, and that's where we got those guys from, the Ten Rings. They were a fake version of it, But we also got that bus fight. We got the fight at the fight club that his sister created. We got the
Yeah,
fight of all the Ten Rings people trying to get the brother and the sister in the club. We also had the fight at Tallow, the fight that was in the headquarters of the Ten Rings trying to get away, and
it
the
was just
ending.
nonstop fight. And then
Yeah,
obviously the ending fight before the CGI fight. You're like, like all of it was just incredible. Like from start
yeah,
to finish, the action and the story were so fluid with each other. It was
yeah.
very cool to just have it keep going. And like I think the movie was about 2 hours long, maybe a little bit over 2 hours, and it was just cohesive and it felt like a breeze.
Yeah, man. And you know what I appreciated too about the movie, and this is something that I appreciated with Black Panther also, is the cultural little notes, the cultural notes that we don't know about from the Chinese
Yeah.
culture because we don't study it like that. We don't know it unless you know it. You know, if you don't have a friend that's, Chinese or if, still does the things that they used to do there, like the tradition of the dead. It's not like the Mexican Day of the Dead. They have their own Day of the Dead where they leave food behind and they also try to kind of like cope with the family together. It was very interesting. You have the way that they see each other, the way they speak, as far as, the mother and the father always looking to have their children be something better or more or pushing their children, which is not different from my culture from, a first generation, you know, first generation. Brandon, help me real quick. I forgot the word here.
Latino, Hispanic? No.
No, immigrant. There we go.
Oh.
Our
Oh,
parents are first generation in here, and
yeah.
then we're here. And, our parents all want us to do better and to see that, hey, that's not different from us. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're not the only ones that have that feeling from the parents, like, oh boy, here we are. We brought you here to be a lawyer and a doctor, and you work
Yeah.
customer service.
I
you
think,
know?
but it's a true thing because it's the Marvel nature of things is not only to celebrate culture, but a lot of these stories, especially in our first phase, was about worthiness, right? Thor had to be worthy of his hammer.
Hmm.
It's just everything's all about worthiness. Tony Stark had to live up to his father's name. Captain America had to live up to his own name and, be somebody better. So everything is about worthiness. And
Right.
so, even Black Panther was about being worthy enough to be called Black Panther, being
Right.
the king of Wakanda. So this movie, while there wasn't any like title he had to achieve, it was the worthiness of being accepted in his family, of culture, of being accepted for, things that happened in the past and owning the life and finding himself in this life.
Accepting himself, accepting who his
Yeah,
family is.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it was just interesting. Like, you meet Wen Wu and it's not a scene where you have to be afraid of the guy. It's like, no, this is dad, and dad does these things to get our attention,
Mhm.
and dad has his reasons. Like, they're actually still celebrating Chinese culture in the fact that even with their parent, it's still, I listen to what you have to say. I might not agree, but I'm going to listen to what you have to say. You're my father, and I have to respect my elder. Like in that dinner
Yeah.
scene with Aquafina was like, this is the bad guy, like, and they're just sitting there, both the brother and sister are sitting there listening, and while they're saying to him like, dad, like, you know they said father, they said dad, and like, while mom is dead, blah blah blah, and he's like, no, this is the way it has to be. It wasn't until they decided to be defiant that he had to take some kind of action. He
Right.
didn't try to kill his kids, he didn't try to kill anybody. He
No,
wanted
just
to
get them
bring
out the
his
way.
family. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wanted to get them out the way so he could do his thing because they're not agreeing right now. Like, it was very culturally relevant to how they would handle that. And
Right.
so it was very interesting. Like, everything was very respectful, even up till the end of the movie. Everything was very
Yes.
respectful.
Absolutely. Because even though Wen Wu, quote unquote, is the bad guy of the movie, he's not his son's enemy. It's just that
No,
his father and him were having a disagreement on what to do in this situation. And that was crazy.
and that was
Because
crazy.
so basically there is no bad guy in this movie because even Razor Fist turns into a good guy at the end.
Yeah, because like they even mentioned, like with Wen Wu, like it's not that he was the bad guy, is that his intentions weren't good because of influences outside of himself. So like, and while he's the warlord, yes, while he's taken over countries before in the past in his thousands of years, he was the bad guy. He found love, became the good guy, and then something outside of influence of himself gave him an ideal to strive for. Like, and then it wasn't really in a negative way. Yeah, he was trying. He wasn't trying to destroy Ta Lo. He was trying to get his wife from the wall. So like, there was
Yeah.
no part of him that was going to hurt anybody in Ta Lo. It was, my wife is behind this wall, and I need to do whatever I can to get her out. So
Right. If you're in
he
my
wasn't.
way, I will
Yeah,
destroy your town.
yeah.
So I
but
mean,
just
that's
let me
the
get in.
bad part of it is you get in my way, I'm gonna fuck you up. You know, like
Yeah, that's the bad part. That's where the line is. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. He's the bad guy. But like, if they had just let him do it, he wouldn't have necessarily been the bad guy. So like, it's very interesting how he's poised in that role. It was very interesting to see. You have the Mandarin, Wen Wu, the Conqueror. You have these, and he's not trying to live up to that. He's
Mhm.
just trying to get his wife.
You know, man. So let's talk about Wen Wu himself right now. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he did his thing. So he's played by Tony Leung, who is a national treasure in China for his acting and his movies that he makes. You know, and I think he's done a couple movies out here too. Just he's not as popular as he is over there. I mean, he killed it as Wen Wu. You know, again, we rarely feel something for the bad guy. We rarely understand why the bad guy is doing what he's doing. And again, it's quote unquote bad guy because at the end of the movie, I don't think he's the bad guy. He was trying to, he thought he found his wife. He thought he heard his wife was behind this wall and he knew he had to break this wall to get to his wife. Listen, if it's me, I'm breaking the wall myself too, but
yep.
he just wasn't listening to reason that he's not hearing who he thinks he's hearing. And he couldn't be convinced of it. Why? Because he desperately loved his wife and he wanted her
And he
back.
was being influenced by the rings that he was wearing.
Exactly. Oh, dude, I was with him the whole time.
From the dinner scene alone, I'm like, he's not a bad guy. I was like, who's the bad guy in the movie? If he's so good, like,
and dude, it broke my heart because he's like, I can hear her. It's
Yeah,
her voice. She's talking to me. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's dirty. So whoever
Even
is doing this is dirty.
it was cool. You knew the story was gonna get to this point when Shang-Chi had to fight his father at the end of the movie, and when Shang-Chi finally let himself be, and kind of understand. I don't want to be kind of corny and say like his own chi or ki, and understand where it comes from and how to kind of direct it. When
Right.
he started fighting his father defensively, like his mother did, and they do the little freeze frames where he is slowing down, watching him, and you could
Uh-huh.
see in his father's eyes that like he was doing with his wife again, like he was doing the fight or the dance with his wife again. He could see his wife and his son, and that was like
Yeah.
a cool moment. It was just like he wasn't actually trying to fight him. It was more so that I'm reliving this moment that I had with your mother, and
Right.
so let's take this time and enjoy it.
It's more I'm not fighting you. I'm stopping you. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? That's it, and there's a
yeah,
difference. I'm not fighting you. I'm stopping you. And that was just
that was it. That was
you're tugging
perfect.
my heartstrings right now, B. You're
Yeah,
tugging the heartstrings. I can't cry on camera, Brandon. So like,
yeah. Like even like I mean, we jumped the gun. We went to the end of the movie, but
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
even in terms of how he used his chi or his key to grab the 10 rings, it wasn't to take the 10 rings. It was just to get them away from his father to stop what he was doing. At no point, like you said, he was
Uh-huh.
trying to stop his father, not fight his father. It was just he was trying to stop his father from doing the thing and just doing it whatever way he could.
Yeah,
And that was the cool part of it. Like it wasn't a fight. It was a
yeah,
fight at first because he was angry, but then he understood where he had to do. And that was the cool part.
yeah, man. And there's a lot of little notes in the movie that tell you Wenwu is not really that bad of a person. Yeah, he does some bad shit, but it's at a goal, right? So there's a part where Shang-Chi goes to his dad and it's just like, "Oh, you finally came for me." He's like, "Boy, I have always known where you were.
Yeah.
I just gave you the 10 years to live your life and see what you do with it. You became what are those guys called that park the cars?
Yeah.
Uh,
uh,
a
I was gonna say
valet.
busboy, valet driver.
He became a valet with his 10 years of not being part of the 10 rings. And his dad's like, "Yeah, we're gonna come get you, boy. Come.
It's time.
It's
It's
time to
time.
come home." So with the 10 years you had to be free, you became a valet. That's yeah, no. Come back home, boy.
And really, to be honest,
Yeah,
he only did it because he figured out what to do with the pendants. So he,
right.
he honestly probably would have let them do it even longer if he hadn't figured it out. Can you
Yeah,
imagine
man.
that?
Just crazy, man. So what Wenwu, man, is up, and it's crazy because again, we don't want to call him a villain, but he's the villain of the movie. If he's a villain in the movie, I gotta say he's up there as far as villains in the Marvel universe. Because a lot of villains in the Marvel universe, especially the first phase and the second phase, there were a lot of just like, here's a villain, okay, they get defeated by this one. At least this
Here's a villain for
person,
the sake of the plot.
right? This one, he had an impact, you know. And look, you guys already saw it, and you heard me. I felt the fact that what he was trying to do, I didn't think was that wrong of idea. I think if you put that situation to anybody who's lost someone, they would do what they have to do to get through that wall. Also, you know what I
This
mean?
guy lived 1,000 years and fell in love once. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. Like,
And even
so
like even the reason he became violent again, right? Because he was a conqueror and doing all these things, and then he met his wife, fell in love, stopped doing everything, and he put the rings away and everything. It's when the gangs that he took over saw his weakness, and they unfortunately when we're in the spoiler section, they killed his wife because of what he did to them before he met her, right? So
yeah,
here comes payback, right? Your past will come to haunt you, right? So here it comes, it happens, and that's the reason why he puts the rings back on and goes crazy and starts beating up people and doing all this stuff. It's out of revenge, but it's a vicious cycle, right? You
yeah,
cause the damage, that damage comes back to get you. Now you go do the damage to them, and then it's gonna come back to get you at some point again. It's just that
yeah,
vicious circle right there. Oh man,
yeah,
when woo.
yeah. I truly hope that in some form we get to see Wen Wu again or Tony Leung. Like I would generally really love to see him come back in another Marvel movie. And whatever. We've seen it before happen with other characters, so
Right.
I would love for an opportunity for him to come back again.
Listen, we said the same thing about Michael B. Jordan when he played the bad guy.
Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger. I would love to see Killmonger again also. So it's just
Yeah.
the same kind of thing. These bad guys that have some kind of deeper layer to them and make us understand why they're doing what they're doing. Marvel, keep it up. You got to keep doing this with your villains, man.
It's great.
Yeah, it's
It's
fan.
awesome.
It's amazing. Amazing, man. Now let's get into the main character, Simu Liu's Shang-Chi there. Now, again, this is a character not many of us know about, right? Shang-Chi is this offshoot character that used to have a comic book a long time ago, has been in little shows here and there, little comic books here and there, video games here and there, but not really a well-known name. So for this being like your real introduction to Shang-Chi and, his story, how'd you think Simu Liu did?
I think it was incredible. I think Simu Liu did awesome with just, I honestly, I don't know how long he's been an actor. I looked up his kind of movie log a while ago, and, it was mostly TV shows and movies he had small roles in. So, like,
Right.
to see him in the major role where he is the star and his acting chops were just really great. Like, you can get the emotion, the anger, the sadness. You can see all of it, really present. He put his heart out in this movie. He did
Right.
great. And then in the same respect, we talk all the time, and there's always the talk that, oh, when phase one started with Iron Man wasn't a big household name, and Marvel made Iron Man an A-lister when he wasn't. No, shut the fuck up. Iron Man has always been an A-lister. Don't let anybody tell you that Iron Man was an A-lister just because the X-Men and Spider-Man had TV shows. Iron Man was an A-lister in the comics. So they just took an A-lister and made him more popular. Here we have Shang-Chi, who is F-list at best, like Iron Fist was above Shang-Chi. Like, let's be honest here. So to take him, like, to take Shang-Chi, an F-lister who had zero ability in the comics, just had his own comic book lines here and there, and give him a story where I think he's on the same level as a Captain America right now.
Yeah.
In terms of development, like, he's above Captain Marvel for me right now.
Hmm.
To take that F-list hero and make him that great, I think Marvel can fucking take Hercules and make him that good. Like, like, they could take anybody and make him that good. So if they could do that, I'm pumped. Like, the abilities they gave him, the rewrites to a little bit of his story that they did,
Hmm.
I think they truly made an awesome character that I genuinely look forward to seeing in the next few years.
Absolutely, man. And then one of the things that I think some people may have an issue with is when we change things from the comic books to the movies. And this is going to happen because they want to surprise us. They don't want us to just know everything that's going to happen. That's why Infinity War was different than the Infinity War comic book, and Endgame didn't really take anything from anywhere. They take things from the comics, but then they expand on it or change it a little bit, right? So I know you've always said that the Mandarin and Iron Man is one of your biggest like favorite fights or favorite like duels or arch enemies kind of thing. But we're not going to get that because of course Iron Man has passed away in Endgame and the Mandarin now is no longer the Mandarin or Wenwu. But the 10 rings were in this movie and they were not the 10 rings that we're used to in the comic books, which were the little rings on the fingers, which I can understand why they didn't do it the rings on the finger because we just had the Infinity Gauntlet, which was basically on the fingers, on the hand kind of thing.
Bunch of jewelry.
Exactly. So like with the change of how they use these rings, I know I've seen those kind of rings on the hands in different like martial arts movies. So I thought that was a nice way to kind of like put that into the movie that way. So it's not like on the hand or a glove or rings on the hand or anything like that, but that it was these big bracelets basically. Like it should be the 10 bracelets, not the 10. But you know, I kind of dig what they did. I mean, I know the comic books, those each ring had a different power. In this one, the rings were just powerful and they all did kind of the same thing. They kind of just like used each other to could be a power. What was your take on the 10 rings themselves?
So I said it last week. One of the things that I was hoping was that the rings did present some different powers like they did in the comics. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with how the rings were utilized. Because we've only seen the rings used in the trailer as like, I'm going to throw them at you. Like, hey, I'm going to shoot them at you like a sonic blast with rings. So like I was hoping that it wasn't just that. But in the first couple scenes, when Wen-Wu was using them, yeah, he did the shooting thing, but he also made it into a whip. He made it into like a sonic blast. Like he
A
did
shield barrier.
yeah, shield barrier. So he
Yeah.
used them, to make individual things, and he harnessed their power and manifested them in different ways. That I actually really liked because you know what I said to myself. Well, it would be kind of corny if at one point you just pointed a ring and fire came out, or water came out of the other one. So like while I love to be faithful in some aspects, where
Right.
love to have had a ring that did X and Y and Z, it was cool to see that the rings could still be manipulated to do different things. You know,
Gotcha. Yeah.
whether there's more things for the rings to be done in the future, since we're getting to know. This seems like they're going to be a little bit of a MacGuffin going forward. So
Hmm.
while there may be more to explore with the rings going forward, I enjoyed what they did with them in this movie.
Yeah, man, I gotta say I didn't find it anything too outlandish. Like you said, they basically were projectiles. They formed a shield. They formed a whip. I would like to know more how they are controlled, whether it's just a mental thing or was it just practice? Because of course, the in the end, Simu Liu, I mean not Simu Liu, I'm sorry, Shang-Chi knew exactly how to use them also. So
Yeah,
without any practice, but we'll leave that. That's just movies. It's just movies, right?
that's
So
movies.
but it did seem kind of crazy, the shot blast and the way they use the shot blast, right? The shot blast could be just a shot of like energy that's shot at you, or they use it as almost like a way to project themselves into the air, almost
Yeah,
like a way to kind of like not fly but jump really high or far or something. And then you could see them using it to kind of like soften their land whenever they jumped hard too. So i
yeah.
i, I saw the different ways that they could be used. And then, Brandon kind of insinuated on something, but we'll talk about that in a little bit at the end when we talk about the post-credit scenes and things like that. So let's talk now regarding like the rest of the cast. We have Razor Fist. We also have Shang-Chi's sister, which I believe was Ling.
Xiling, yeah.
Xiling or Ling, right? And we also had Aquafina's character, who I think she played Katie.
Katie. She was Katie. Just straight Katie.
Remember, there was a point in the movie where he goes, "What's your real name?" Katie. He refused to call her Katie. Yeah, but
Yeah. And that was actually a cool scene too, and not to disrupt, but like
no,
when
go
they
for
were
it.
talking about once again, a Chinese culture thing was embracing your lineage and your name. Where she made fun of him for choosing Sean. And they're at dinner with their father, and he's just like, what's your name? She's like, Katie. He's like, no, no, no. What's your real name? He's like, I'm Wen Wu. And he spoke about the importance of your name and what it really means.
Right.
And when she shared it, like, it was just an embracing of your heritage. And Katie's character comes from a family that has heritage, but she never embraced it because of almost the same reasons as Shang-Chi was. She didn't feel worthy enough to be respectful of the culture because she wanted to be someone else that her family didn't want her to be or didn't see her being. So it was interesting to have that as from another great thing from Wen Wu was showing her this is the importance of lineage and why we embrace it so much.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I'm trying to think of who else was in the movie there besides those characters there. We also had the characters that were in Tallow.
We have a surprise character in there.
Oh, we have Tallow. Wait. Who's the character that was in Tallow there? It was Michelle Yeoh, who played Zhang Nan. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh killed it. Yeah, she played, I believe, his aunt, right? Not the mom's aunt. Shang-Chi's aunt, mom's sister. Yeah. So she was kind of cool in that movie as far as like bringing us into Tallow and letting us know what it is and why it's there. It's like a separate dimension pocket there. But yeah, man. I mean, those other characters. If you ask me personally, I think they all kind of killed it. Razor Fist was this regular, just bad guy, kind of just towering, muscular, big guy in the movie, kicking ass with a sword for a hand. Kind of crazy. But, all the fight scenes that he was in, he did good. I thought he did good. He stood out, definitely.
I think he did great, especially in the bus scene.
The aunt, the sister was crazy good in this movie as well. She did her thing. Someone who was hurt by her brother leaving. I thought that was well played, well acted. Where we talk Awkwafina's, she was amazing in this movie.
Awkwafina is one of my favorite people in life, and for her to be so good in this movie was awesome. I was a little skeptical about what her role would be when she, joined along, and in Tallow when they, gave her a purpose, and I was like, oh, is that a little cliche? Like, she has to fight because she's there, so she's gonna be an archer that has something important to do. But I also feel like they're gonna, because of the way the movie ended, it makes it seem as if she's going to have even more importance as his series goes on.
Yeah, man. My one disappointment with the characters is they did the Boba Fett, man. They killed off my Death Dealer, bro. You can't show off some guy who looks super cool, who's a badass, who
his
fights.
His name is the Death Dealer.
I mean, Death Dealer. How cool is that? Like I'm the podcaster.
And you off the guy first. Like, he's the first one to die.
I thought there was going to be like a bigger reveal, like who's under the mask of the Death Dealer. No, he dies.
No, he's just a biggity bitch. He ain't nothing.
It was kind of crazy, man. I mean, he did some, listen, the fight between Death Dealer and Shang-Chi at the club was ridiculous. It was for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But some of the fighting in there, the takedowns was just, oh, God.
Dude, I think one of my favorite parts of the movie is, like, this was after I started thinking about it, was he was talking to Katie in Tallow, and he goes, like, I lied to you earlier. Like, like, when my father sent me after my mother's killer, I did kill him. And he was all upset about it. And she was like, oh. And in my head, I'm like, I go back to the club scene, and he kicked 15 ninjas off that roof. Like, I completely believe you killed that guy. You just killed 16 ninjas, bro. Like, where do you think they were gonna land?
For real, man. I think they sometimes forget these comic book movies. Like, nah, bro, I just saw you kill 3-4 guys.
Bro, you just sent 4 ninjas off the roof with one kick.
You're supposed to be the good guy. You just killed some people.
And then you'd be like, I killed the guy. I'm so upset about it. Bro, where were you 3 scenes ago?
Yeah, man. So listen, man, the cast did their thing. The main characters did their thing. Just overall, man, great acting.
But I gotta say,
great cast.
because we forgot somebody.
Go for it, B. Who we forget?
We forgot Ben Kingsley as Trevor,
Trevor.
who
He's
made
an
his
actor.
return.
Trevor the actor.
I was saying, man, when I said it last week, I was like, I really hope Trevor makes a showing in some way, shape, or form. And for him to have like a role in the movie, that carried through a while,
A
that was
big
awesome.
role. A
Yeah, a
big
pretty
role.
big role.
I gotta tell you, like I was hoping he would be like in one scene where they either talk about that they killed him or he was in jail still.
Yeah.
Dude, they rescued him and he became part of the team. What?
Like, for him to have such a significant plot, even though in the final battle, he played dead because he's the actor, for Morris, get down, I'm playing dead. Like, even though he didn't do anything there, for the fact that he was in the movie, had actually significant role, I was so happy about that. Like, I love Ben Kingsley, and for that character after almost 10 years having a return, like for Marvel to follow through like that, like just the way they did with the Red Skull, for
Yeah.
Marvel to follow through with something like that, awesome. It was great.
Not only awesome, think about this. How much that character was hated because he was supposed to be the Mandarin and they fooled us. Then we see him in this movie and it's like, oh shoot.
Oh shit, Trevor.
The whole theater was like, oh. And then again, he has not just a little bit part in the movie, he becomes part of the team for a little bit there towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Very crazy, unexpected. Did not expect that whatsoever. Good to see Trevor Slattery.
I was super impressed. I couldn't believe they did it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. So listen, that movie again from beginning to end was amazing. You know what? Just really quickly, let's talk about Tallow and the final fight because that was a pretty big deal. The movie because I would say at least the last half hour was a fight of the movie.
I would agree.
We had a bunch of different fights, right? Because we had the 10 rings coming into Tallow, which was, first of all, Tallow, beautiful, amazing looking place. I think they said it was like a dimension on Earth or a separate dimension somewhere, a pocket dimension. They're going to have to explain that again for me. But yeah, man, it was beautiful to see those things. And even those creatures that were in that area, that town, and very believable. Looked nice. It looked cool. I'm not gonna lie though, when they said that somebody from the dead or somebody behind the wall was trying to convince somebody that their dead wife was there, I was like, it's Mephisto, bro.
Mephisto.
It's Mephisto, bro.
Dude, we're gonna be so upset when Mephisto actually shows up. Like, if he ever actually shows up, we're gonna be so mad about it.
I know, right? But because I assumed like some big Mephisto was gonna walk out of that damn wall and tear shit up. But I think that's one thing that was kind of cheesy was what was behind the wall was just a bigger soul sucking demon.
The mega soul sucker.
The mega soul sucker, whatever it was. I thought that was kind of like womp womp. I honestly was with you because Brandon in the movie theater was like Fing Fang Foom. Now, if Fing Fang Foom had came out of there, which was another dragon, so it would have made sense, right? A dragon versus a dragon would have been amazing to see. And there has to be a reason why they didn't do Fing Fang Foom. But they went with a soul-sucking demon, which was like, what?
I feel like that was like kind of like the need to have a villain in the movie because like we agree, like Wen Wu wasn't necessarily the bad guy of the movie. So I feel like that was the bad guy was the mega soul sucker. Like we needed to have a bad guy. And this is the guy who has been influencing him from the start because he needs to suck some souls, like as weird as that is to say out loud. As weird as it was to say out loud.
With the mini soul suckers getting souls first to give it power and energy.
He was like the pimp soul sucker,
I think and this is where I have to kind of understand or hope that there's a bigger plan, maybe for part 2 or for part 3, where Fing Fang Foom will be part of it. But I just think that they missed a great opportunity to make everybody just go, oh shit, and lose their mind. Because had Fing Fang Foom came out of that wall, that would have made one perfect sense. It would have been dragon versus dragon, which would have been really, really cool. And we would have all left the theater going, holy shit, we just saw Fing Fang Foom versus a a great white dragon. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just insane. But they made a call. They made a reason. There's got to be a reason why they didn't do that, and they went with
Yeah.
a nameless soul sucking demon.
Plot, 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 plot.
Yeah. So I can only assume maybe part two, part three, we'll get that other thing
But
there.
I can't even lie. Like,
Mhm.
while I agree, like I was truly hoping it was Fin Fang Foom, especially because he is from the Shang-Chi comic. Basically, like his history is with Shang-Chi. So I was hoping it was Fin Fang Foom, but I can't even lie. Like when the Protector Dragon came out, and then the Mega Soul Sucker, that CGI was on point.
Oh
Like
yes.
like the dragon alone, when he pulled up and they got off of the dragon, I was like, that's a real dragon. That's
Dude,
what I
whoever
look like.
that has to be ILM or whoever Steven Spielberg is using for their VFX. That's them. Dude, I looked at you.
Skywalker.
Listen, I looked at you and I said, Disney's hiding a dragon.
They got a real dragon.
They have a real dragon somewhere.
They found it.
That thing looked real as hell, and it just looked amazing on screen.
I was incredible.
I just, yeah, I could not believe what I was looking at the screen because it just looked real. I was like, that's a dragon. Yeah, that's what it
Just
looks
like
like.
at the end of it, when he just rolled on in, like, and they dropped him off, Shang-Chi and the sister, and he just sitting there in the background. He was breathing. And I was like, this fucking dragon is breathing. Like, oh my God. It
Yeah,
was incredible. I couldn't believe it. Even the Soul Sucker, the tiny ones look stupid, but like the mega one actually looked really good. I was
yeah,
very impressed.
yeah, man. So let's talk about. So we talked about the Soul Sucker. The Great Protector also was the dragon there that was amazing. The last fight, Wenwu versus Shang-Chi, we kind of talked about it. Talk about that again. It was more him trying to stop his dad than fight his dad.
Yeah.
Still amazing, and still a great fight. Really nice to see Shang-Chi using the 10 rings himself, which is kind of crazy. And now, looks like he's the one in control of it. Anything about the fight for you, Brandon? Just good.
I just honestly the choreography along with the story they put into the fight, it was incredible. I loved it. It was probably my favorite part of the whole movie was just watching the moment. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
You know what's crazy? Like the whole movie, I was just like, all right, I'm with the movie. I'm with the movie. And there's a scene at the end before they stop fighting where Aquafina hugs Shang-Chi, and I almost teared up, dude. I don't know why. I don't know what happened there, but she hugged him, and I was like, my eyes got water. I was like, no, nothing happened. Why are my eyes getting watery for this?
I can't even lie. Like,
Start dating.
I don't know. Maybe she like stepped it up after Raya. Because Raya in the Last Dragon, she was the dragon in that movie, and she did incredible in voice acting. And I
Right.
guess this is her first like big role. She stepped it up, man, because I believed all the emotion she was conveying. I believed the messages she was trying to give, like a sense of purpose for her. Like it was awesome.
She's
Like
a good
I was
friend. Good friend
I
in
was
this movie.
actually really like I was affected when they didn't kiss. Like I was like, no kiss, like And while that doesn't need to be in the movie, while it doesn't have to be there, I was
Right.
just it seemed like the moment was going there, but I was really happy that they had that moment of embrace, like you said, because it was
Yeah.
just like like we did this together, and I thought it was great.
You know what's great is they didn't force a relationship in this movie.
Yeah,
She
but
was just a legit good friend.
like as much as they were trying to
Yeah.
build it between like her, her grandmother brought it up.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was like, she was like,
Her
when you guys
grandmother
gonna get
brought it up. Yeah.
you guys getting married, and then like
Yeah.
when kind of insinuated like why is this girl here with my son? Like why did we bring her back? Like
Right.
so like you could see it was there, and that she very much cared for him, and whether there's a relationship there or not, the chemistry that they shared together was awesome.
Was amazing. Now watch them. They're gonna do this shit where they're gonna make like an Infinity War, and they finally kiss in Infinity War, and we're all gonna be like, yeah. But I like that, man. We don't have to push a relationship in every goddamn movie we watch.
Have to be there.
Yeah.
They didn't need, you need to have the last dance,
No.
like,
But
like
watch.
that was
We're all gonna lose our minds if they ever kiss on screen. Watch.
yeah, because they did have in the last scene of the movie before the post credit scene, they were kind of holding hands. when they were sitting next to each other.
Oh, wow, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Like, you can see they're building something. We just didn't see more of it.
Right. All right. Shang-Chi 2, man. I can't wait for it now. And then one thing I want to talk about before we go into the post-credit scene, and because it's the last thing we're talking about, and we haven't really mentioned it before, you kind of can tell it's not that big of a deal, which is in the commercials, in the trailers for Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, we see Abomination versus um,
Wong.
we see Wong from the Doctor Strange movies. Now, one of the things I think, again, too much shit is on the trailers. I think it would have been a bigger surprise had we just seen it in the movie. But I get
Yeah.
why they put it in trailers, because they want you to think like, oh, this is crazy. There's Marvel. Here it goes, you know. But it didn't. It didn't need to be
Connected.
right. It didn't need to be in the trailers. And when it came across in the movie, it was pretty much what we saw in the trailers was what we saw in the movie. Excuse me. It didn't seem like that much of a big deal. It just seemed like, oh yeah, that's there goes Wong and
Yeah.
Abomination. And then after the fight, they were kind of like cool, which leaves me with questions about how is Abomination cool if he was taken away at the end of Incredible Hulk, which was damn near 20 years ago,
It was
you know?
2008.
Oh, Jesus. Damn, 2008.
2008, right?
But that's the last time we saw him,
That was right
Abomination.
after Iron Man 1.
Jesus, that's so long ago. But they brought him back, right? And then we see Wong in here fighting him, and you're like, what's going on? What is this? And that's the reason why we thought it was going to be like some kind of a tournament in this movie. There was no tournament in this movie. There was a fight club that was part of the movie, but that's about it,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to say I was disappointed, and we got in the trailers. I did think there was going to be more to it than that. And it kind of just, again, set us up to think that there was some kind of a tournament, because that's what we all heard beforehand. I don't know. What was your take on the fight there with Wong and Abomination?
For me, I when we saw in the trailers, I was just like, oh, it's weird that Wong is there, given
Right.
what it looks like, where's Doctor Strange? And
Yeah.
then when we saw the scene, it was a cool scene. Like, it was short, but it was a cool scene. And then when he was just like, oh, you're pulling your punches again. What I tell you about that? And it's like you said, it looked like they're friends or whatever. And it looks like Wong actually brings him back to a jail cell. So maybe Wong
Mm.
is, maybe Doctor Strange had that list. Remember in Thor, Ragnarok, he said he had a list of people he was watching.
Oh, wow.
People, beings that he had to keep an eye on,
Right.
and this and that. So maybe Abomination was on that list as someone he's gonna try and rehab, and Wong is maybe rehabbing him. You
Mhm.
know, and it just kind of seemed like there was a setup mostly for She-Hulk, because we know that the Abomination is gonna make an appearance on the show.
Right.
So it's thinking in what way now, because from hearing Abomination, I'm thinking he's the villain,
Right.
but he might not be. He might be the villain that Jennifer Walters is maybe defending in court.
Right. Exactly.
So like
Trying to get
that
him
might,
released.
yeah, so like there's now more possibilities here just because of two lines of dialogue.
Mhm.
So like the obviously it might have been a plug for She-Hulk. Maybe Wong is now in She-Hulk, given what it seems like his relationship with Dr. Banner. So it seems like this is more illusion for what's to come in Marvel.
Right, yeah, and again, it's when you look at it from just a movie perspective where we were watching it, it's just like, oh, that's cool. But when we get into like the hardcore fandom of the
Like, this is
Marvel
Marvel.
MCU,
This is Marvel.
like, yeah, this is like when you get to the hardcore where we think about things too much, it's like, why are they there and why are they cool? It right. If it's all connected, why? Like, so that's the one issue when it comes to these Marvel movies, because we want to know the bigger plan or what's going on behind the scenes. So when things like that happen, we start to overthink, like, no explanation. So kind of crazy, man. So listen, we talked long enough about this movie, man. Like, that's just incredible and crazy. Let's get to those post-credit scenes and the end credit scene. So let's go with the post-credit scenes first. Post-credit scene is Simu Liu and Aquafina, Xiang Chang, and Katie. They're at a bar talking to their friend who was in the previous part of the movie, where their friend and her new boyfriend or husband were talking to Shang-Chi and Katie about them not having any purpose in life or not knowing what they're going to be, or they basically needed to quote unquote grow up because they were valet drivers, right? Or valet
Yeah.
people. So, here they are talking to them, and now they're talking about the story of what they just did, where they're like, well, Shang just basically saved the universe. And they're talking about this story, and they're like, guys, you're making this up, kind of thing. Why you're getting back at me for what I said to you last time about growing up? And we get the little circle there
Yeah.
from the sling ring, and it's Wong. And Wong comes to get Shang. Oh, no, Wong, is it Wong?
Long.
Yeah, Wong. So he comes to get Shang-Chi and Katie, and they bring him along. And we find out that they're talking to Bruce Banner, not Professor Hulk, not Hulk, Bruce Banner
Bruce
as
Banner.
himself, Captain Marvel, which was nice to see Captain Marvel, and Wong. And the three of them are talking about the rings that are on that he just got from his dad. And they're asking him questions like, where did you get this from? Where did your dad get it from? And they're like delving in deep into those rings, trying to figure out something. And they go deeper and deeper. And Banner says there's no radiation that he can recognize it from. Captain Marvel says she hasn't seen it. It's not Chitauri or anything from.
It's not alien.
Right, it's not alien. And then Wong is like, I can't see what this is. And they go like almost like into the ring more, and there's a beacon, and it's just like kind of like going off little by little.
Yeah.
And they kind of like say, welcome to, not, I wouldn't say the Avengers. They didn't say welcome to the Avengers, but they said welcome to your new life in this craziness.
Yeah.
Which is cool because then, you can see the steps towards like, what is this leading up to? So I thought that was pretty cool. Again, great to see Captain Marvel. Great to see, Bruce Banner and not as Professor Hulk again. But I'm left with questions now, B. I mean, what's your take on what's happening here? Why is Professor Hulk Bruce Banner now? And what's going on? What is that ring summoning?
For me, that whole thing with Professor Hulk and Banner, it was either part like VFX, budget, like, hey, do we want to spend the money to put the Hulk in this movie, or do we just want to try and figure out the Dr. Banner thing when we get to She-Hulk? Like it kind of seemed like that to me, but there may be a storyline, because for me, like when Endgame ended, he was still Professor Hulk who did the thing with Cap. So like, where did that? Yeah, with the sling. So like, what changed in what could potentially be somewhere between 3 to 5 months?
Right.
What changed in that 5-month period where he was like, nah, I'm going to be Banner again, So I'm interested in that. It seems like it was a VFX thing, and they're just like, oh, we'll explain it later. Right. Captain Marvel, awesome to see her. Her hair got longer, considering this is like 5-6 months after Endgame. So her hair got longer because she got it cut. And just seeing like how they're working together. And then also I appreciated how there was all this hate with Captain Marvel and her attitude, and kind of Brie Larson as well, and how the story is the cast doesn't like Brie Larson because of XYZ. So to see her being a little bit more comedic in this scene, how she has to get off the call because something's happening, and Banner's like, oh, this happens all the time. Like, she does this all the time.
And she goes, oh, get Bruce. Bruce will give you my number on how to reach
Bruce
me.
has my number, yeah.
And Bruce like, I don't have her number.
I don't have her number, yeah.
I don't know how to reach her.
That was cool. You brought up a really cool point for me, was like when Wong did the magic circle, we had seen that in the movie when they were coming into Ta Lo. The waterfall made the exact same circle out of water, which leads me to believe that we're going to see a little bit more magic being explained. Like, for me, it seemed like magic comes from these mystical places, and at Karmatage, these magicians were learning how to embrace that magic or use it themselves with the sling.
Well, remember, the magic that they use is magic or power from dimensions. That's how they worded it. And of course, when they went to Ta Lo, they went to another dimension, and that dimension was with water.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy. Yeah,
So
that looked
I'm
cool.
interested in seeing how maybe magic is going to be utilized going forward, considering we saw basically the same thing with these magic rings and circles.
Yeah.
So it was really cool there. My other thing, with the whole beacons thing and the 10 rings, I agree with you. Like, we said this in the movie theater, like, we wanted more of an, not necessarily an explanation of the rings, but to get a little bit more of the rings, because the intro of the movie was like, oh, he found them maybe in a tavern or in a hole or something like that, or maybe he was given to them. Like, it was very
Right.
open.
Right.
And these, now they're saying, oh, there's a beacon, a power we can feel all the way in Karmatage. You felt it in space, blah blah blah. So this beacon's been lit. We talked about in the comics, the race of aliens that made the rings were shape-shifting dragons.
Hmm.
So while I was thinking the protector was going to be that alien, it appears not. So maybe, we're going to get to that race in a future movie. Maybe they might not be dragons, but they might be something. So this might lead more into where Marvel is going, because Marvel seems to be going into the space area.
Hmm.
So now with what potentially could be an alien race, I don't know if they're going to send Shang-Chi into space or not, but we might get a little bit more dimension-y, Ant-Man based quantum realm stuff going on
Yeah.
with the next Shang-Chi, because this potentially interludes with another alien race.
Right. It's very interesting. And again, Shang-Chi's based in San Francisco, so we may have a team up with the Ant-Man or with the Wasp or
The
something
West
like
Coast
that.
Avengers.
Yeah, that would be really cool to have the West Coast Avengers in there if that happens. But like again, I'm interested in seeing what this beacon is summoning or who it's calling. There's people saying Galactus. I don't think it's Galactus because Galactus doesn't need to be summoned. He go gets his food.
He
Get your
hungry.
food. Yeah, you go get your food, Galactus. And Silver Surfer usually goes first.
Yeah,
So
he's the herald. So like Silver Surfer finds the place, and then Galactus eats the place.
yeah, so it's not Galactus. This may lead into the Eternals, maybe something with the Eternals that this ring is summoning something. So who knows? But I'm very, very interested in knowing what's coming or what's next, man. I'm looking forward to it. And then the last post credit scene, B, we get Shang-Chi's sister, Ling, I believe is was her name.
Yeah.
It looks like she took over her dad's organization, the Ten Rings. She changed the logo up a little bit, made it pretty, you know. She's more inclusive now, There's women there fighting, kicking ass out there. Um, so it looks like she's just continuing on what her father's legacy was. We don't know if it's in a positive way, in a negative way. So we'll see what happens from there. But I mean, I was a little disappointed that she went towards the dark side. It looks like it's dark side there. But what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it kind of seemed like the movie was setting this up in terms of like she was, as in Chinese culture, especially in older Chinese culture, the daughter wasn't as important as a son. The daughters were always in the shadow, and in this movie, it was always expressed that she was in the shadow of her father,
Right.
because she wasn't allowed to be in the present. She did everything behind the scenes or in the shadows, training by herself after seeing what the men were doing. So this is also the same person who opened up an underground illegal fight ring for monsters and all that stuff. So like it kind of made sense when she was like, "Oh, I'm dismantling the 10 rings. Is I'm gonna do it my way."
Right. Yeah, and I could definitely see her showing up on a Disney Plus show. I can't really see the Ten Rings as an organization show up in other movies besides a Shang-Chi Part 2, maybe. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Um, it's very interesting because it's a lot of things that they left off with, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean that she's the leader of the Ten Rings now? What does that mean, that beacon? What's next for Shang-Chi? Where was Fing Fang Foom? Very crazy. A lot of questions, man. But listen, I'm looking forward to all of it. I You're making me think I love the movie a lot more than I did, Brandon. I just even talking about it again is making me get those feels for the movie, man. And
Yeah.
again, when I left there, I was like, this was good. This was really good. Really, really good. But I always try to compare things, and it definitely doesn't meet up with A Quiet Place Part Two. Quiet Place Part Two was just so sick, right? Quiet Place Part Two, Suicide Squad, and also Free Guy. This is right after Free Guy. It's almost on par with Free Guy, but Free Guy to me is a need to see, man. That movie was incredible. But Shang-Chi is almost there. It's just right in the bottom. It's holding down my number 4 spot for this year so far, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Man, if I
Where's
can't
Black
tell you
Widow?
guys. Oh, yeah. Definitely, guys, go check out the movie. Even if you've seen it, go see it again. If it was on Disney Plus, I definitely would have already watched it. I would have already watched it at home, but it's not on Disney Plus just yet. So I'm probably gonna have to go to the theater to go see it again. How about you, B? Is this a
I
double take?
I'm gonna have to probably see it again. I want to see maybe there's something I missed.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. Listen, you heard us talk about Shang-Chi, man. Go check it out. Listen, we don't have enough time today to talk about What If episode 3 and 4, which were both amazing, which just gives us more to talk about next week. So if you want to hear us talk about What If episode 3, 4, and 5, that's going to be next week's podcast. We'll probably have Al and Sanj back for that as well. I know this week Malignant comes out, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to catch that one this week. So we'll let you know next week what we're going to talk about. But we'll definitely bring up that What If episode 3, 4, and 5 next week. So, guys, thank you. If you have any thoughts, opinions about the Shang-Chi movie there, if you got a chance to see it, let us know what you thought about it. Comment below on the podcast, or I'm sorry, on the YouTube page. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, you could always email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com, and that's REEL, real. All right, man. So coming out of Long Island, New York, we got my brother B.
Adios, everybody.
And we got myself, Hav, saying thank you, guys. Thank you so much for watching, listening, subscribing, or adding us to your podcast playlist there. Just keep us on there, because that way you'll be informed with every new podcast or new episode that we put up. It'll pop up automatically if you hit that subscribe button or you hit that plus button on your podcast playlist for us, The Real Fan Review, where we talk about movies, the blockbuster movies, Marvel movies, comic book movies, and more movies. All right, guys. So till next week, we'll catch you on the next episode. Until next time.